A lot of people believe a more expensive rifle is better than an inexpensive rifle. Today we're gonna go take a couple different price points of guns and run them through some tests. First off, we're gonna do some accuracy testing, short range and then long range, and then we're gonna show you how these guns fit different people and the shootability of these guns when they are fitted properly to you.
We are MDT. We design, test, and create precision rifle chassis and accessories to help you shoot better.
Now, before we get into this testing, we're gonna break down these rifles. So for the $500 rifle we're testing today, we got a Savage Axis. For 500 bucks, you get a barreled action that operates, get a trigger on it. We don't have a break on this because it didn't come threaded for a break. We also don't have AICS mag. We got a 3 or 4 round mag on this thing. And then obviously a factory trigger and factory action. So this is the $5,000 build we were using for the video. This starts off with a J. Allen Gen 5 chassis system. We have a Fusion Action by Lone Peak and a Trigger Tech diamond trigger in this. I have a proof barrel and then a comp brake on it. I also have a extended rail on here, which we're releasing soon, and also the Bag Rider 2, which I'm testing right now, we're releasing soon as well. So because there's such a big jump between a $500 rifle and a $5,000 rifle, we decided to go and add one in the middle, right around $2,500. The build we have here is a Bagheera barreled action. We went and we dropped it into the new LSS Gen 3. We've got the competition fore end on this, XTN interface for the rear, and then we have XTN buttstock that comes on our Premier Gen 2 ACC. So with the setup, we also have the ability to go add a brake to this because we have a threaded muzzle on this. So we have a comp brake on the end of this gun. We wanted to keep the testing on this as fair as possible across all 3 platforms. We went and put the same scope on each one of these guns. We're running Leupold Mark 5s. We know that that is definitely not the issue when we're shooting these guns, and we're really just testing the platform, barreled action, and the chassis and that type of thing. So we're gonna start with our accuracy test here first and see how they group at 100 yards and see how consistent they are at 100 yards. And then we're gonna move it to 500 and see what they do out there. So now we're gonna start with our $500 rifle at 100 yards. So when we're shooting for consistency and accuracy out of a gun, we definitely want to shoot more than one group. You could have just an amazing group out of that gun the first time through. Well, the next 2 groups might be a minute. Now, realistically, you have a 3/4 minute gun. What we're trying to do here is we're making sure that we shoot enough groups that we know how accurate that gun actually is. Ergonomically, it's not overly comfortable. Definitely compromising my position here. You can feel the flex in this stock, but you know, we're definitely not a $2,500 gun yet. So for a $500 hunting rifle, it's great. This still might fall apart when we get out to say 400 or 500 yards with this. All right, now we're gonna go to the $2,500 gun. So obviously this is a big jump from 500 now to 2,500. Right off the bat, the ergonomics on this thing are much more comfortable. I can adjust the cheek piece if I need to. The grip, I just find a lot more comfortable to hold on to. The length of pull actually feels proper now. Overall, just a better feeling gun. The action just feels, it's a lot smoother as well. This makes it a lot easier to run and shoot. So this $2,500 rifle, the Bagheera, it's pretty impressive, but I'll show you these groups after we shoot the $5,000 gun and compare them together. You know, in this price point, you're definitely getting to that more adjustability aspect, adjustable mag latch, adjustable barricade block, so on and so forth. The feel is just, it feels like a custom gun. Bolt smoother, action smoother. Big difference from the $500 gun where every time I ran the bolt, I come off the target. Obviously you're running a muzzle brake on it too. This just, well, feels more quality. So you can see from the $2,500 gun to the $5,000 gun, the accuracy is within reason of each other, really. For the targets we're gonna be shooting for, say, PRS. I'd say the biggest difference I noticed between these 2 guns was just the additional smoothness of the bolt and how consistent it was and how easy it was just to shoot the gun. What we're gonna show next, though, is where that $5,000 gun steps away from the $2,500 gun and allows you to get it to shoot exactly how you want and react under recoil. We're here at our long range spot. What we're gonna be doing is shooting a 10-shot string, because this is generally what we see in a PRS match, and this is kind of what we're comparing these rifles on. We're gonna go and play all 3 rifles shooting at the same time on the screen so that you can see the difference in recoil, follow up, and just what's happening as a shooter behind the scope. You're gonna see the first shot on target is basically the same. Really after that, that's when the $5,000 and the $2,500 rifles, you can see just how much smoother they are to run, how easy they stay on target with that muzzle brake. Every time with the $500 gun, I'm coming off way off target. After a couple shots with the $500 rifle, definitely opened up in the group sizes. At that point, we knew it was the inaccuracy of that system. Obviously, one of the biggest differences in these guns is the barrel profile. $500 rifle has a sporting profile that is very thin, where the Bagheera has a little bit heavier contour. And then when you move up to the $5,000 rifle, that's a full comp contour. Now that we've taken a look at the accuracy on these rifles, we're gonna see how shootable they are. To test the shootability of these 3 rifles, we're gonna put it through 3 different tests. We're gonna show how this rifle can fit 3 different sized people, how fast they can go and shoot it at 2 different targets, and then we're also gonna show how easy they are to balance when you do get them on a barricade. So we grabbed a few of the guys from the shop, brought them out here to see how these guns fit them and how well and how easily we can fit the guns to them, because that's a really big important part of doing these upgrades on a bolt action, having that fitability, so make sure you can shoot it as well as you can. What we're going to be looking at for the 3 shooters is how they engage the gun, the fitment between their shoulder and the gun itself, the fitment between their trigger finger and the trigger, and just how easily they can control it and just how well it fits them. You'll notice that in these comparisons, they look almost identical. And that was kind of the point, is that we want to make sure that they are in the best position that we know possible to have the best accuracy when you're shooting off of a barricade or in the situations that we're going to be putting them through. If you go now and compare that to the $500 rifle looks, you'll see that their cheek placement was kind of all over the place. When they're reaching up to put their left hand someplace to kind of support the gun, it's kind of looking for something to grab a hold of. The 6'3" person, they were definitely a little jammed up on the gun, just not as comfortable is what it comes down to. Now that we've seen how the fitment is for the 3 different size people, we're gonna see how the shootability is now on barricade. So we're gonna start each shooter from the port arm position. We're gonna have them engage a target at 380 yards that is a 10-inch plate, and then they're gonna go to 500 yards and engage a 2/3 IPSC with 2 shots so we can see how fast they can do the follow-up shot. And then we'll take their time and the amount of impacts they had to compare across the builds. So with the 3 different shooters we have out here, they're definitely on the beginner side. So what we're gonna be doing is comparing the builds that they shoot against each other, not the shooter against each shooter. We wanna show you how easy they can go and shoot the, say, $5,000 rifle compared to the $500 rifle when we do this. So you can see on this first shot that Julian's taking, who's our tallest shooter, that he's already got the first shot all with the $25,000 and $5,000 rifle done and is moving on, you know, dialing his dope and moving on. You can also notice too the way the guns are sitting on the bag. He definitely has a lot better control over that gun and just is making his life easier, obviously, to find and get on that target and then make sure he can settle down fast. He's finished with the $5,000 rifle. He just finished with the $2,500 rifle, and he's now dialing his dope on for the secondary target, the second target at 500 yards on the $500 rifle. So once again, the shootability of these rifles is really coming out. So with the smallest shooter we have, you can see he's actually a little more consistent across all 3 rifles. $500 rifle likely fitting him better than our tallest shooter. His first shots on the first target obviously were close. Moving on to the second target, kind of same thing, honestly, it wasn't that far off. You can still see that it took him longer to get stable with the $500 rifle. Is it the gun, is it shooter? It's hard to say. Like I said, these guys were newer shooters, but we just really wanted to show what they could do with these setups. So with our average size shooter, once again, he was okay with the hunting rifle, but you definitely could tell he struggled with stability and also came off target every single shot. Once again, coming down to that muzzle brake. Shooting the other 2 rifles, obviously he had this much faster follow-up shots, staying closer on target and just being able to at least keep the target in his sight picture. Overall, you can tell that they seem more comfortable behind the better rifles. And for obvious reasons. Like I said, this rifle is designed for hunting. It's not designed for shooting PRS matches. So now comparing the times of these 3 shooters and really comparing it against themselves is what I'm looking at here. You can see in the $500 rifle, it took them the most time out of all of them. When they moved into 2 higher end rifles here, I think they all had 2 shots off, if not, yeah, 3 shots off, almost by the time they had, you know, moved on to the second target to take their second shot. And the taller shooter, he actually was almost done shooting all 3 shots when he got his first shot off with the $500 rifle. And like, once again, I think this comes down to, you know, how shootable are these rifles? How easy are they to shoot? And that much more enjoyable to shoot is what it comes down to. You probably hear people talking about balancing the rifle and you're wondering, well, why is that important? So the issue you run into then is if you have a rifle that is front heavy or rear heavy, yeah, you're gonna be using more muscle to keep it on target. It's gonna be harder to keep on target, to settle there. And then under recoil, you might have a little more rise in the front. It's just harder to control under recoil. Actually, the harder part about this, balancing this gun, is how much it rocks. You can see when it sits against a surface, even this wide surface, you see how much that rocks? That does not make it easy to get it settled on that bag even, to make sure that it is easier to get on target and shoot faster. So looking at the $2,500 rifle here, it balances okay, like it's better. With just adding a couple of weights and a bipod on the end here, you can see we can get a really good balance point, just making this gun just a lot more shootable. So on this J. Allen, it's kind of hard to show the way it balances on a piece of brass like this, because at the back of the Arca rail, it actually slants down to meet the chassis here. Couldn't balance it on a piece of brass because of this, that round on that slant in there. But if I put this on this straight edge like we have on this piece of steel, you can see the gun's perfectly balanced there. Like I can touch the back here, and it goes right back to where I want it to be at, basically. Even when I open the bolt, you can see that actually changes it enough to put it in the rear. So do you need to be this precise when you bounce gun? Probably not. But does it make you feel good when when you're behind the gun and you can't blame the balance of the rifle for missing that shot or not giving good follow-up? I kind of like that factor. Going into this test, we were pretty sure we knew what the $500 gun was going to be able to do. I was surprised it did shoot pretty good at 500 even. Like you were still able to hit 2 MOA target at that distance. So moving up to that $2,500 mark, it was actually surprising how close it was to the $5,000 rifle. Accuracy at 100, accuracy at 500, and honestly even the shootability of the guns too. Kind of shows that you don't need to go to that $5,000 mark. What you're getting at that $5,000 mark though is probably a little more reliability, a little more customization, maybe just a little bit better feeling gun. It is a little bit smoother, so on and so forth. Majority of people are definitely gonna be happy with a $2,500 rifle. If you're a little more particular, you have the budget, take a look at those custom rifle builds. Nowadays, you can really start with a fairly inexpensive rifle, upgrade your barrel, upgrade your trigger, upgrade your chassis, and get almost to a custom level rifle with a good starting action.